What's up, everybody? Welcome back to ENC Football. It's your boy Sterling as usual, and today I got another banger for you guys. Today's video is going to be sleepers for the fantasy football season in 2023, but as you know, before we get into the video, you have to go down below. Leave your boy a like. It means so much to me and it helps me out a lot. Now, number one player that I think is being slept on the most in fantasy football this season is Deontay Johnson, wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I'm a big Deontay Johnson guy. I think he's a very talented player, and we've seen that throughout the first 3 seasons of his career. However, last season, Deontay Johnson ended the season with 147 targets, which, by the way, was the 7th most in the entire NFL. So he was a top 10 most targeted player in the league last year, and that's with Kenny Pickett, who obviously is going to be the quarterback this season. There was a couple games with Mitch Trubisky, but the overwhelming majority of last season was Kenny Pickett. But the main thing that sticks out to me when I'm looking at the statistics from last year is that Deontay Johnson finished with 0 touchdowns last year. 0 touchdowns. And you're probably wondering why I'm mentioning that if I'm making a case for why Deontay Johnson is being slept on. And it's because that is a complete outlier statistic right there. There is just no way that that is going to continue. Now, by the way, 147 targets and 0 touchdowns is literally an NFL record. That is the most targets a player has ever gotten in the history of the NFL without getting a single touchdown. So that's a complete fraudulent thing that happened last season. There's no possible way that Deontay Johnson is going to not find the end zone this year. Especially when you take in the fact that in the first 3 seasons of Deontay Johnson's career, he had 5 touchdowns in his first year, he had 7 touchdowns in his second year, and in his third year, he had 8 touchdowns. So literally, let's just give him 5 touchdowns. That drastically increases his fantasy football output, which is around what he's been getting his entire career. It's just that one outlier season last year. And also considering the fact that Kenny Pickett is now entering his second season. In their second season, that's normally when quarterbacks take the biggest leap of their career. Now that they have a full offseason to prepare as a pro player, now that they already have a bunch of games underneath their belt, they don't have as many jitters. They know what they need to do. Deontay Johnson is being drafted in the 7th round of fantasy football drafts right now. And in the 7th round, in my opinion, that's a steal. And that's why he's my number one sleeper. And my second player of this video, ladies and gentlemen, is a running back, Khalil Herbert. Khalil Herbert is currently being drafted. His ADP is in the 9th round of fantasy drafts. And he's the 35th running back being taken off the board. And Khalil Herbert, last season, he was kind of stuck behind David Montgomery as the number 2 running back on the Bears. But now David Montgomery's gone. He's gone to the Detroit Lions, and this is basically Khalil Herbert's backfield. They brought in Deonta Foreman in the offseason, and some people were thinking that this was going to be a little bit more of a committee going forward, but what really stood out to me was that in the preseason, on all of Justin Fields' snaps, Khalil Herbert was also on the field. And that was only in game 1, but that was when Justin Fields played, and Khalil Herbert was on the field alongside him for literally every single snap. And considering the fact that in the games that David Montgomery missed last season, Khalil Herbert was really good. He had a top 10 finish last season when Montgomery was out. And also, taking in the entire sample size of last season, Khalil Herbert finished 5th in the entire NFL in yards per carry. He averaged a whopping 5.7 yards per carry, and it shows that he was efficient behind an offensive line that wasn't very good, that is going to be improved this season, on an offense that as a whole is going to be much improved going into this season. They have a guy like DJ Moore. They have Justin Fields going into his 3rd season where he's going to be taking another leap and getting better as a passer. And this offense is going to be moving the ball more efficiently, and that's only going to benefit Khalil Herbert. And so a lot of people this season are going a little bit more wide receiver heavy in the earlier rounds of the fantasy drafts. And if I'm taking that strategy and I'm sitting there in the 9th round and I see Khalil Herbert available, I'm going to snatch him up. I'm going to take him because that's really good value. If you're getting a guaranteed starting running back who you know is going to get volume, who you know is efficient with that volume, in the 9th round, you're not really going to be able to get an opportunity like that very often. And so Khalil Herbert, to me, certified sleeper, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here first. And my third and final sleeper of the video is a really deep sleeper, to be honest. Like, this guy literally is not being drafted at all in fantasy football drafts. Like, he's such a deep sleeper that you probably never even heard of the man. and his name is Jake Ferguson, tight end for the Dallas Cowboys. Jake Ferguson is entering his second season in the NFL, but the main reason why he's a sleeper in my opinion is because we saw last season on the Cowboys, Dalton Schultz as the starting tight end had a really productive season. Last season, Schultz finished the season with 89 targets, and that was in the upper echelon of tight ends. And considering in fantasy football, the tight end position is such a wasteland, 89 targets is a huge amount for a tight end. Dalton Schultz signed with the Texans this past offseason, and those 89 targets for the tight end position are just vacant now. Jake Ferguson was the number 2 tight end last season behind Dalton Schultz. He had 19 receptions last season, and so he's just not a guy who's coming out of nowhere. He's been in the Cowboys system, and the fact that he's now going to be the number 1 tight end in a system that really likes to utilize the tight end, Jake Ferguson stepping into that role, considering the fact that you can literally pick up this man as an undrafted free agent in fantasy football or scoop him up with your 15th round pick or whatever, I think that's a great opportunity. If you're picking up this guy as your backup tight end, or if you're literally just putting him on your watch list after the fantasy draft, I think it's a good move to do, because just to keep an eye on him, he could be really good. He could end up being really good, especially with how much opportunity there is now that Dalton Schultz is gone. But that's going to be it for today's video, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know some sleepers you guys have down below in the comments. Please leave me a comment down below. Tell me if you think my sleepers are stupid. Leave a like, please. Again, it really helps a lot, and it makes a difference, and I appreciate it so much. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm out of here.